because they're doing the same thing that last motherfucker was doing. They just in a new body. All right, so we need to talk. Come on, get in here. It's quick. Come on, let's talk now. If you've set boundaries this year or you've upgraded your standards this year, don't let nobody make you feel bad about that. Keep them boundaries. Keep them standard. Period. Especially, if even y'all, but y'all mostly. Because Black women's standards have been way too low. And anybody who tries to make you feel like your standards are too high or that you are irrational for setting boundaries in your life is only trying to use you. Because without those boundaries, they were able to do this all over your life. Y'all remember Dave Chappelle and the Rick James skit? Go couch. Okay? So you understand, it's not a game. And the only reason why someone is mad that you set standards or boundaries is because they can't walk all over you no more. You're not being dumb no more. Now they can't use you. Now y'all go subscribe to Mom Jeans by NUTCASE on YouTube. Hey you guys, welcome and welcome back to Mom Jeans by NUTCASE. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Today, we're going to be talking about boundaries. Not everybody has them, but we all need them. And I know y'all have been seeing what's going on within our society, and you can tell by the behavior of certain people out here that they lack boundaries. And I feel like there needs to be a conversation. So I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to give you guys 5 ways that you can set and keep healthy boundaries in your life so that you can prevent yourself from being caught up in the whirlwind of bull that's going on right now. These are 5 ways that you can start and implement healthy boundaries in your life, because if not, you can get caught up in a lot of serious mess. That's not going to do anything good for you. It's only going to set you back. So I felt like we needed to have a conversation about it. So if you're down for that, and if you want to hear what I have to say, I guarantee you it's going to be worth it. Also, if you were called to this video and it popped up on your feed, it probably means that you were meant to be here. So welcome back. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. If you are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button, you guys. And we are going to get into this discussion about boundaries. So I'm sure that we've all been in a situation at some point in our lives where someone has violated our space or violated a boundary that we've set. Whether it's a friend or a family member, or whether it's somebody who you're dating. I know that a majority of humans have been in a situation where their boundaries have been compromised, or they felt guilty for the boundaries that they have. So I want you guys to have all the tools that you need in order to set and keep healthy boundaries. What we need to talk about first, before we talk about these 5 steps, is what it means when someone is violating your boundaries or someone does not respect the boundaries that you have set. Let me tell you what it means, honey. Okay? It means, number 1, they don't respect you. Number 2, they don't value your individuality or who you are as a person. And number 3, they lack boundaries in their own life. So either they don't respect you, they don't value you, or they lack boundaries themselves. Now, more than likely, if you're a sane individual and you have any type of common sense, you'll understand that this particular form of behavior is something that you do not want in your life, because it's only going to set you back. When you continue to entertain people who lack boundaries, you become an accessory to their poor behavior. You also become susceptible to whatever type of foolishness that they may get themselves into while living their lives. It's just something that you really don't want to have to deal with, because if they're not violating your space or violating the boundaries that you've set, then they're probably doing it to someone else. And if they can do it to someone else, eventually that means they're going to do it to you. Just like people who gossip. If they can talk to you about everybody in their mama's business, then they're going to talk about your business too. So let's go ahead and get into these 5 ways that you can make and keep healthy boundaries in your life. All right, so the number one thing you guys need to know is to set a standard. You have to set the standard for what you want in your life. You have to make a decision about what's a priority for you and what is most valuable for you to have when it comes to the energy of your relationships. Your standards define how people treat you. So if your standards are low, that means people are going to treat you in a low vibrational way. They're not going to give you the respect that you deserve. If your standards are high, regardless of what people may like to say, then that determines and confirms the way that you are going to be treated. So you have to decide what it is that you want. Nothing is too big, nothing is too small. You have to just decide what you want. And once you set the standard for yourself about what you want in your life, how you want to be treated, what type of life you want to live, what you want your experiences to be like and look like, then it'll be a lot easier for you to navigate through the weeds of people that don't belong in your life. So when you set standards, you want to look at experiences from your past where you may have felt mistreated. You want to look at the relationships that you've had that may have diminished your confidence or made you feel unappreciated or undervalued. You want to see the things that you were allowing to happen before that were giving you unsatisfactory experiences so that you can pinpoint which behaviors you will continue to allow and which ones will no longer be available. And the thing about it is crazy to me because people like to gaslight other people for the boundaries that they set. They like to criticize them for their boundaries. They like to ridicule them and make them feel small or insignificant or as if they're asking for too much because they've set a boundary. But you can never go wrong setting a boundary. I don't care what any of these people say. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I don't care if they're LGBTQ or they're heterosexual. I don't care what their identification is, how they see themselves. You never should let anyone make you feel bad for having standards in your life, because a lack of standards puts you in a bad position. A lack of standards allows people to come in and treat you any kind of way. And the reason why they may ridicule you or criticize you or say that you're asking for too much is because the standards that you have set to prevent them from being able to walk all over you is putting a crimp in their plans. It's creating unwanted friction and opposition when it comes to the way that they are able to treat you. And more than likely, if somebody has a problem with the standards that you're setting, it's because they were planning on breaking the barrier. They were planning on going over the line, going over the limit, and pushing the limit to see how far that they could take you, to see how much that they can abuse you. And that's just what it boils down to. So the first thing that you need to do is pinpoint the things that you will allow and the things you will not allow, and set the standard for what you want in your life. That's the easy part. The second thing that you need to do is begin to change your behavior. So once you've set your standards, you need to change the way that you move out here in public. You need to change the way you move in private. You need to make sure that in any space that you are in, within any relationship, whether it's platonic, romantic, or professional, that there is a uniform response, which means the same response each time when it comes to the standards that you have set. Now, as I was editing, you guys, I really just had to add in how important this step is, because there are so many times where people expect others to change their behavior when it comes to the way that they're being treated, but really it boils down to you changing what you allow. No giving people a pass, no giving them one chance, no allowing them to confuse you or manipulate you out of your decision. Change your behavior. So if you've set a standard for someone and you begin to implement that standard, make it very clear that that is the standard that you have set. That is a part of changing your behavior. Do not continue to be in situations and entertain situations that are below the standard of which you've set. Each time that you create that neural link of you having a different behavior, you're reprogramming and retraining your mind to know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable And the reason why you have to do this is because people don't understand how subconscious communication and interaction is between people. It's a very subconscious, metaphysical situation. Certain things that may not pop out to you as red flags when you have low standards, they'll stick out like a sore thumb when you've changed your standards. So you'll start to notice as you change your behavior, certain things that you've been allowing from people that you should not have been allowing, or that you no longer wish to allow in your life. You're reprogramming your thinking. So your brain is going to respond when you begin to make certain changes and you begin to make certain decisions to show you where there may need to be adjustments. All of these, let me tell you something. I wore this shirt on purpose because thou shalt not try me. I don't care what nobody has to say about this. This is what you need to be doing if you want to have better experiences in your life. And all of these things really work together in unison. It's a win-win situation. Nothing negative ever came out of setting boundaries, in my opinion, because if you set the boundaries that you want in your life and you don't allow anyone to surpass your limit, then there will be less space and opportunity for negativity. Now, the third thing, which coincides with number 2, is remove the temptations, y'all. Remove the temptations. If you have anyone around you that likes to test your boundaries, anyone around you who likes to push the limits, anyone around you who does not respect the changes that you've made, goodbye. They gotta go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you feel that way, but it is what it is. They gotta go. If there's any places that you frequent, environments that you put yourself in, where your boundaries are being tested constantly, you gotta get out of those situations. I don't care if it's a job. I don't care if it's a relationship. I don't care if it's your mama, your daddy, your kids, your family. Get out of the situation, especially with close relationships like family, friends, or lovers. Now, I have to say, the reason why it's so crucial for you to set boundaries with your close relationships is because a lot of times when you try to change, people's image of you stays the same. It's hard for people to adapt their image of you, especially when you mature. That happens a lot with parents, siblings, friendships, and love relationships that you've had since you were young. If somebody is tempting you to renege upon the standard that you've set in your life to have a better experience, and they're making you feel guilty about it, you need to remove yourself from the situation. You either need to remove yourself from the environment or you need to remove yourself from the relationship. People's feelings are gonna get hurt, y'all. The feelings are gonna get hurt. But one thing about it, it's past time for these feelings to be hurt. It's a lot of people out here who need their feelings hurt in order to hear a real message, because sometimes that's the sign that people really love you. And that's the benefit of setting healthy boundaries, is it's not just for you, it's helping other people as well. And no matter how much people might want to complain about it, you removing people out of your life because they tempt you to renege upon your boundaries that you have set or lower your standards below what is acceptable in your life, shows those people that they can't get away with the same tomfoolery bullshit that they've been allowed to get away with thus far, which will ultimately trigger, hopefully, some type of change within themselves to where they start to set healthier boundaries and they no longer try to push people's limits. Because usually people who try to overstep your boundaries are people who are getting walked over themselves. They're insecure. They don't have any self-esteem. They don't have any self-love. They aren't doing the inner work to deal with the trauma that they faced. But you are. So it doesn't really matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter how they respond to you. It doesn't matter how they react to you. People will get mad. I've literally had people talk about me, create rumors, get mad at what I'm doing, try to stop my progress. People do everything under the sun to try to get you to be punished for making your life better. But listen, the temptation has to go. They have to be removed. More than likely, because you found this video and because you made these decisions in your life, you are gonna have people that are not gonna like what you're doing. So you might as well prepare yourself now and be ready to remove them and drop them like a hot frying pan with some bacon in it. It's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, there's no questions, there's no consideration. There should not be any compromise on your boundaries. That's how I feel, and that's facts. They don't have to deal with you, and you don't have to deal with them. And if they're upset about what you're doing, they can go. And if they choose to go, you have to accept the fact that you're better without them, because man's rejection is God's protection. So whoever doesn't like it, tell them to kick rocks. barefoot, fresh out the bathtub with no shoes on. Now, the fourth thing you need to do is enforce your boundaries. So this point does coincide with the relationships that you already have. But when I say enforce your boundaries, it's more so putting them into practice. You've set the standard. You've started to change your behavior. You've removed any temptation from people who do not want to adhere to the changes that you're making. And now comes enforcement, which means if there is anyone from your past who you express the new boundaries of your life to, and they accept those boundaries, but then they say later on,
you don't have to be so strict.
Or
why does it always have to be like this? Why does it always have to be like that? Can't you do it this one time?
That means it's time for enforcement. That means it's time to say, hey, I already told you what my boundary is, and if you don't want to respect it, you can go. Enforce your boundaries in situations where you're meeting new people, which means if you see signs that they are going against what it is that you have set as a standard in your life, you don't have to be rude. You don't have to be nasty. You don't have to snap at nobody. All you do is exit. You leave and you walk away very classy and very politely, and you let people know by your actions that you're not going to stand for that type of behavior, that you are not going to go against the boundaries that you set for yourself. See, actions do speak louder than words. And a lot of times we want to give people chances and we want to be understanding. Some people do, some people don't. It just comes down to a personal choice as to what type of life you want to live. But actions speak louder than words. And you might tell somebody all day long that you've set a boundary and that you're not going to renege. You're not going back on your word. You said what you said and that's it. But because of those people's reference of you in their mind, they think that they can try it. And that's why it's difficult when you have people in your life that you've already built a connection with. There's a cord of connection between you, and that cord may be linked to a part of you that is now obsolete. So as you enforce your boundaries, it means that when you meet people or when you deal with the existing people in your life, you have to enforce the boundaries. You can't just say it. You have to act to show people that you're not playing no games. It's just that simple. It really is. Like, this could have been a 5-minute video because it's really just that simple. You can't just say it. You have to do it. And you have to be serious about it. You have to stick with it because a lot of people will know you and they'll know how to get to you. They'll know how to butter you up. You can't let them. And I know that it might seem harsh, but it's not. It's common decency and respect because too many people are trying to push the limits and they don't have any self-control, and it's a problem. So when you have somebody that continues to try to push your limits, you will have to, at some point, show them that you are serious with your action. Now, the fifth and final thing that I want you guys to know, the fifth and final step to setting and keeping healthy boundaries is having a zero tolerance policy. We've kind of already touched on this, and that's why all of these are interlinked together. But you having that zero tolerance policy means that when someone continuously tests your boundaries, you have to kick them to the curb. You have to. When someone new comes into your life, which is more of what this means, that you have eyes like a hawk. You have a third eye like a hawk, which means you see past what's on the surface. And when you meet new people, there's a zero tolerance policy for allowing the same behaviors to continue as they could have possibly continued with someone who you removed from your life from your past that didn't want to adhere to your boundaries. See, because people don't understand how serious it is when it comes to relationships and energies that come into your life. You want to change something. You want a different outcome. You're working to achieve that outcome. But there are going to be entities and energies that live through people that do not want to allow you to make this change. What's the Bible verse? Because I'm not religious, y'all. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. So what does that mean? That means that some of these energies and some of these powers out here that are controlling the weak are not things that only reside in one individual. Many times when you set strong boundaries and you remove things or people from your life that do not stand with those boundaries, you'll have a new person come along and you'll meet them and you'll think everything is fresh and new and vibing, and then bam, it's a red flag. Because they're doing the same thing that last mother was doing. They just in a new body. See, that's what a lot of y'all got to understand, that you are repeating stories over and over again with new people. And it ain't nothing new. It's the same spirit that was over that person that you can't stand. And you sitting around in the company of the enemy, not knowing that you're in the company of the enemy, trying to give new people a chance. No, zero tolerance policy. You don't have to get to know people very long to understand the type of energy that they hold. You don't have to get to know people very long to get a sense of their personality. And I used to think, yeah, you can't judge a book by its cover. And that is true. And more than one thing can be true at the same time, because not all people are very good, especially these days, with conveying their true personality. But if you have a physical reaction, a visceral reaction to someone coming into your life and it just don't feel right, and then they start to test the boundaries that you've set, that's a clear sign that you're wrestling with an energy source that does not mean you any good. So you must keep that zero tolerance policy, because people who come into your life that don't mean you any harm won't have a problem with your boundaries. You may have people who don't want to deal with your boundaries. It may just be too much for them. That's fine. Usually they bow out gracefully. You may have some people who are willing to accept your boundaries. They may have boundaries as well. And you guys are able to make reasonable compromises within your own life respective to your boundaries. But then you come across people who just want to test you. And those are the ones that you cannot give any room to. Because I want to see you guys grow. I want to see people have more emotional intelligence. I want to see people have more empathy. And I want to see people able to communicate in a more proficient way so that we're not all acting crazy. Because this foolishness, I'm telling you, this foolishness is a problem. It's the way that the world is working right now. Something has got to give, and something is going to give, because you can't continue to go on in an imbalanced state without something being balanced out. It's going to be balanced out. So what I want you to do is make sure that y'all are keeping your side of the street clean. And the best way that you can do this is to set healthy boundaries. These boundaries that you set for yourself are going to help you move forward and progress in a rapid way within your life. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Be sure to leave me your comments below and let me know what you feel about this topic. What boundaries have you guys been setting in your life? What boundaries have people tried to break? What response have you received from the boundaries that you've set and the overall consensus of people who respond to your boundaries? I want to read your comments. I want to hear your stories. I cannot wait to read what you guys have to say. Be sure to like the video. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure that you turn post notifications on so that you can be caught up every time I post, you guys. And be sure to check out all of the other content that I have on the channel. If you're working on self-improvement, or if you want to make a change in your life, I know that there's going to be some valuable information for you here, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Thanks again for watching, and make sure you know that's why they call them mom jeans, honey, because everybody can't fit in them. Bye.
If your standards are high, keep them there.
Yeah. And there's a reason why they're that high.
Absolutely.
And don't let anybody tell you,
because that's what I
that
did.
You're wanting too much.
You know, maybe you're just expecting too much, and you need to look at people's potential. And
No. There's only so much potential that I'll even consider.
I am confident in this. The word
This very
says to be confident in this. My standards aren't too high.
No, they're not.
And I'm not unrealistic.
No.
You know what I mean? Now, there are some women who you could be like, girl. I'm just not taking the bare minimum.
And no woman should, or no man. Nobody should take the bare minimum from
I'm
anybody.
not giving it, and I don't want it back.
Right. You're
That's
deserving of a love that is full.